T-Man 978 Chill Review.
Hello everyone, T-Man 978. Thanks to Nate from Nate's Toys and Collectibles, I was able to acquire this 1,000 Toys Devil May Cry 5 Dante Deluxe Edition for a good price. Thank you, Nate Simmons. I am in a blessed situation where I can be notified of things like this going on sale or be in a position where someone wants to help me out. And I was able to get it at a good price and with trades and whatnot with Nate. Anywho, this is the inner box. Not really much special about it. The packaging feels extremely cheap for this to be an expensive action figure set. Here's how it comes. On the inside, I'm showing all this because this is an expensive set and not a lot of people are going to be able to have it. So, yeah. All the accessories like hands are down there. His weapons. If you've been playing the Devil May Cry games, all of this stuff is recognizable. Ebony and Ivory, the Rebellion, and the other weapons you got in like the third game and whatnot. I'm going to have to look up their names. The instructions are in Japanese. Yeah, outside of that, it did come with this little baggie with a nice stand in here and the instruction manual, which is in its own baggie. But this is a cool stand right there. Is the transparent plastic with that little checkerboard detail. Capcom logo on there. I believe I've seen these stands before. I think Flames Toys were advertising it. But basically, you can put this anywhere in the little outlines. One thing I like about it is not only does it have the typical Bandai type arm joints and whatnot, but you know how when you put this on there and it just swivels all around, depending on the character's weight, it might rotate. They thought about that and they put a little extra divot right there that you can push down, and now it's locked into place. It's not going to spin around. But yeah, there you go with that. And you could just use the regular stamp board if you want. Alright, here's the instruction manual out of that plastic. They basically show you how you change everything. And I'm going to show you this right here so I don't have to go into all the details while I'm actually showing the figure off. Of course, you can pop the hands off. You have different hands for holding the weapons and whatnot. They show the different ways the weapons can be used, with which hands you need to use it with. How the face pulls off. You can change the hair. There's two hairs. This little back detail can actually fit into the jacket. So it can have that there when you don't have this peg that actually comes out of his actual back that holds the swords attached to it right there. Here's Dante out of packaging doing his stinger move that he always does on pretty much every game. It's the first move I always unlock. I hate that you have to unlock that crap. But anyway, this is a great figure. I wish I would have pre-ordered it and got it sooner, but I'm happy to own it now. Let's get into it. Before we get deep all the way into Dante, here is the first accessory I'm going to mention. This little back cover piece right there. When he doesn't have anything on his back, he has this hard plastic piece, which is attached there. Underneath of here, he has a little peg in his back that you can pull through there. I know I showed those instructions, but I wanted to let y'all visibly see that. Now we have his sword, the Rebellion. He had this sword for pretty much every game. You didn't start off with it, but in the first game. But yeah, there we go. One of these little horns on that face right there came out and I had to super glue it. After taking this little piece off, here's what it looks like on Dante's back. And after I plugged that on there, I didn't really pay attention to how that joint works. But I was like, you know what, it'd be cool if that just goes to the side and boom, it does it. Like, as you'll see, this figure, I'm going to talk about this now. It feels like they thought about every single thing. Like everything, like the fact that you take that cover off and he can put it on his back and then you can put it on so it'll be a solid sword. It doesn't just have that hole all the time. That's genius. And this little peg system in his back, being able to be maneuverable and posable, that's also genius. Here is Sparta, another weapon I believe he got in the first game. I think it's supposed to be like a manifestation of his dad or whatever, or extension of his power. Don't quote me on that, but nicely detailed. This is pliable right here. This is harder, but when it gets to the tip, it's pliable material. And some of this is sharp, but nicely sculpted and painted. It is awesome. If you pay attention, they put a keyed hole right there so you can peg it on his back. In the neutral position, it looks like that, but of course, like I showed, you can rotate it so it'll look like this on his back. And that's cool. Here's Dante's shotgun, the Coyote A. No real deep holes in the barrels right there. But yeah. I believe you get one in the first game, but this is modeled after the one he got in part 4 and uses in part 5, of course. Here is the Demon Sword. Right there. Awesome. It looks to be one solid piece, but it's not. I like the way it's painted, where the silver part of the blade comes out. But where it's not, it is of course this piece right here that comes off to accommodate for the back storage. But it's not just that, like you saw in that instruction thing. You do that. And here's what this looks like. And now they actually give you 3 versions of Cerberus right there. I guess this is the more basic, where it's just like a weapon that you can hold and toss around. Then he has the extended versions of it, like chain linked together, making it like 3 right there. Then there's the straight solid staff right here. So that's good. And you see the paint work right there on the tip. So that is definitely cool. There's ebony and ivory right there. I had to look it up. I didn't realize which hand, or I forgot which hand he holds them in, but yeah, there you are. And as you can see, he has specific trigger fingers. Less real accessories for me to talk about would be the face and head sculpts, or hair sculpts, I should say. This one, the hair is swept a little bit more back. I don't know whether, I guess this will be his natural length. The other one is kind of shorter at the bottom, so that I guess you can get better upward motion. But this one seems to do good as well. This one appears to also have more hair over to the side. But as you can see, if you can see, and I hate because of the freaking white nature of his daggone hair, if I lighten it up, you lose the detail unless I do that. But you can see he has the stubble and whatnot, like he did in the game. And the eyes look like realistic, shiny eyes, like there's a gloss over the eyes. Here I swapped out the hair so you can just see the face better. And you can see he has this cocky smirk with this face right there. And the hair, I don't know if it looks any real different. It does taper in a little bit more. And then here he is, angry, pissed off. Nice paintwork. They all look great to me. This thing is a friggin' masterpiece. It's like, it's my favorite thing right now. I mean, anything that I can complain about is pretty much a nitpick. It seemed like I said earlier, they tried to think of everything. If anything, nitpick wise, the jacket isn't going to fit like it's going to fit in the game, because it has these shoulder pads right there. So it looks bulky, but I seem to be able to shift and move it around and get it to a decent compromise point where it looks better. And then when you put it in poses, you really don't have to worry about it. And they have a ton of bendy wire up in here, like bendy wire here, down here. Like I think the whole side of this is bendy wire. About the only real full 100% complaint. And look at that with the guns. This thing is so easy to pose. But the only real 100% complaint that I have is this right there. With this being such a small figure, you see this on pretty much every figure that's small that has like fabric clothing. That I don't really like that. I wish it was the same color as this material right there, but I guess that probably would have made it more expensive. I think the best looking inside coat I have is this Mezco Blades jacket. That looks really good. They don't have as much bendy wire, like there's no bendy wire down there. I like the design of everything. The boots are actually painted up to look like real leather and worn. It's not just flat brown, which is cool. One weird thing, but it still works out, the belt buckle is actually designed into the shirt. So when you move his legs, the belt buckle kind of still stays there. But when you pose the legs around, you won't even notice that. Like it's kind of always in the place where it needs to be. But I definitely like how they did the jacket so you can get that posed up. It's way more fun to pose than something like the Amazing Yamaguchi's Gambit jacket. I don't have that figure anymore, so don't expect a comparison. But yeah, he looks good. So let me get into the articulation. We saw some of the neck articulation, but he definitely has a ball at the top, so I can look down without moving the neck. Look down that much. He can look up. You get a little bit of gappage right there. Tilt to the side and whatnot, of course, rotate. But this whole upper torso part is separate from his shirt, which is just a pliable material. That can shift side to side. You can go back. You can come forward. You can kind of rotate and whatnot. So I don't know what the joint system looks like under there. You have, I believe it must be like 2 segments in there, because you can rotate to the side. And the joints are all stiff. Like you would think something like this would fight you and go back into its natural position, but no. You get the ab crunch, and it actually like stays crunch. You can go back, and now this part, you can't help that right there. When going back, that belt buckle thing is right there, so you have to move this up to meet with it. And of course it can rotate here, and let's see if it can. It can still rotate in the middle of the body too. So you got that. There's multiple points. I'm gonna have to take the coat off to show you the full arms, but the legs are kind of designed in a way like Transformers almost, where the crotch is 3 segments. This part that lifts up and down. There's no like drop down hips, but the hip can kick up way over 90, which is definitely awesome for poses. Like I said, this thing just falls into the poses so easily if you have any type of freaking imagination. Legs can go all the way out to the side for splits. Thigh rotation is like a single jointed knee, but it gets the range of a double joint and it pulls this out. You get boot swivel. The foot, they wanted to make sure you don't get nothing like the G.I. Joe Classified series where you can't kick forward, because they cut that right there. This can go up, and of course you get ankle pivot. And with the boot swivel at the same time, which kind of even moves independent of this joint right there, you can get the foot into the perfect pose, and you get the toe pivot right there, toe movement. But let's get the jacket off. All right, now let's get into these arms. The arms appear to be on, it's a cup right there, which is covered with this. The cup is covering this ball in there. The ball, I believe, is straight up a solid piece, but the arm can rotate forward. It can rotate back, go out to the side, come in like all the way. Like I've been showing how they can crunch to the body. This elbow joint, which is like it's a universal, it can rotate at the top And be careful, because when it's in the jacket, the arm can fully rotate. If the arm isn't going this way, then you know that you have the elbow twisted wrong. But you can get complete crunch right there. And with the universal and the wrist, he can scratch his own shoulder. And of course, you can do all this with the universal right there. So, yeah, that's about the only real iffy things about this figure as far as the way it looks is the universal joint is huge. So depending on what, like for this pose right there, not too much of a problem for me. My one gripe with that universal joint though is when he's holding his sword and you do this, a pose like this, holding it straight out, it kind of looks like his wrist just broke instead of, that doesn't look too natural. So maybe they should have given him hands where they're kind of curved out. You would get that with something like Figma, but they didn't do that here. But it's so easy with the amount of articulation that he has and the hands. Like, you could just do anything and he's in a good looking pose. If you can't get this thing into a good pose, you're horrible. But this is probably the most extreme thing that somebody will have a problem with. If you ever look at him from the back, he has this port sitting out right there. So I have to admit that doesn't look good. But typically you'll probably have him with his jacket on anyway, and yeah, it won't even matter. And let's see, if you put one of his swords here, you don't see that. So it's covered up. Of course, with the Rebellion, it's not as big. Let me show you that. From this angle, when you twist it, you'll see that the shirt isn't symmetrical and whatnot. And while I have it like this, I can see that there's a ball right there. So it must be a ball right here and a one in the waist. So I can see that's where it's actually bending. But yeah, I freaking love this toy. I think it's amazing. Oh yeah, this is just an example pose of him on this thing right here. Love it. I didn't buy the Revoltech one that came out years ago. I bought one for my son. It was like $25. I'm shocked that thing was that cheap. And I always wished that I got it for myself. But this one is like way better than that one, I believe. It's bigger and more in scale with my other 6-inch action figures. If you have those blast effects from that Black Widow Deluxe set or War Machine, they can fit inside of this gun vaguely. Wasn't able to get them all the way in, but good enough. Mezco blast effects were too skinny. They just fall right out. Here he is next to the only other 1000 Toys figure I have there, Synthetic He-Man. Here it is next to some other 1/12 6-inch scale action figures, and as you can see, he fits right in. There's Mezco Blade, Marvel Legends, Worthy Captain America, and G.I. Joe Classified Series Flint. And here's him next to a female 6-inch action figure. Now, this Sparta Sword, I just made him grab this. And the grip isn't as tight on this as the other swords. And of course it's heavy, so it might make it rotate left or right depending on how you have him holding it. But his arm seems to be strong enough to hold it without drooping at the elbow. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. The hands stay on a lot tighter than my Synthetic Human. Those hands just pop right off, so I'm happy they fixed that. Apparently that's not the only thing I need to mention. The bendy wire goes all the way up here, and even has bendy wire in a collar to make that posable. Well, final thoughts. This thing, like I said, awesome. The positives greatly outweigh the negatives for me. Like I said, posing is easy and natural, and you don't even have to worry about posing the arms in this jacket. They just get right out of the way. It's like so smooth and effortlessly that you can't really even complain, and I'm not even worried about ripping it. Y'all heard me nitpicking about the inside of the jacket, but with the bendy wire, whichever direction you don't even have to ever see that for like photography. You just bend it and twist it out of the way. So there you go with that. But I could keep going on and on. I love the thing. I think it originally retailed, the deluxe one originally retailed for like $145 or something, maybe $150. I don't know what's the difference between the deluxe and the regular, but I think regular or deluxe, it didn't even matter. They both sold out. So if you see it now, it's aftermarket. I am like way behind. I think I went to look at The Amazing's video, and his video was like a year ago. It's probably more than that. YouTube just says 1 year ago when something is over a year. But whatever. However much you think that this thing is worth it, that's up to you. Thank you for watching this. Until next time, T-Man978 out of here. Join the Syndicate Toy Hunters Facebook group. Link in the description. Click the videos. Click the videos, baby. Click the videos. You should really click the